Awesome sauce. Okay, next is Melysa Martinez. She's from here. But she's not originally from here. Originally, she's from San Juan, Puerto Rico. And she grew up in a Gabriel Garcia Marquez book, except in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and not Colombia. If you don't know what I mean, then you didn't read our interview. She's a freelance writer and online production assistant. Her work has appeared in LA Weekly, After Dark, Creative Loafing, Nerve.com, and CBS Radio. Her weekly sex column, Are You Shaved?, can be read in print at Creative Loafing or on Creative Loafing, well, clatl.com/Are You Shaved. Melysa Martinez.
Hello. I didn't have a file folder, so I put my poems in an Esquire magazine called The Meaning of Life. So this might be my meaning of life. This is called 3 Tears, T-I-E-R-S. My mother told me when I was a little girl, you will always be 2 things, a female and Latina. She tells me, I overheard the man page his boss and say, she exceeds our qualifications. And then came the whisper, but she's Puerto Rican. She dropped out of college, my mother, to help her mother, the mother who immigrated to the United States without a husband, with no skill set, with little knowledge of the English language, who at first left her 3 children back on the island of enchantment to go look for employment in New York. The mother whose sister told me was hospitalized earlier for hysteria. My mother never told me. I thought she told me everything. Her mother worked factory jobs. One time she showed up for her paycheck, but they'd closed without telling her, without paying her. Where there was always food on the table, my mother said, a good, warm, home-cooked meal. When the family went to Coney Island, the kids would cry out for popcorn. It was then her mother would reach into her purse and pull out 3 sheets of paper, making cones for the popcorn she'd also brought with her. It wasn't the same, my mother remembers. But every winter they got a new coat, and every Easter the girls a pretty dress with a brand new pair of shiny shoes. My mother was the good kid, the nerd, never got in any trouble. She wanted to join West Point, she wanted to fly a plane, she wanted to write a book, she wanted to get away. She never did drugs, my mother, not so much as a puff of the good stuff, a virgin when she wedded my father. I wanted a big wedding, she tells me. I wanted everyone to know Maria's girl did okay. She tells me she used to stay out late with the boys, salsa dancing and playing basketball, and the neighbors talked then, much like neighbors still talk now. They'd say, esa nena corriendo por las calles. She wanted them to know she got away. She wanted them to know her mom did good. My mother married a fellow Puerto Rican, here to my father. Her mother did not approve of him, but he loved her, my father, loves her till this very day. He doesn't cry anymore about their separation, but he used to. I saw the tears myself. They wed at the age of 23, old by yesterday's standards. They waited 5 years to have my brother, old even by today's standards. They wanted to enjoy life, my mother, my father, to see the world. They would end up making love in Spain and France and Morocco. They rode a camel's back. I've seen the proof, the weathered photograph. He was a security guard, my father, when the 2 met. She failed to tell me this, my mother. Again, it was her mother's sister who told me, and here I thought she told me everything. But he had ambitions, she tells me, as if the men I date have no ambitions, no goal, no drive. A bartender, a server, an artist who runs illegal poker games. Why can't you date a doctor, she asked me, or a lawyer? He started his own company, my father, a veteran, but that was much later. Her sister had married an engineer, their mother liked this, who doesn't like the idea of ending a life of poverty. She'd gone to court reporting school, my mother. Her fingers worked at such speed the typewriter would jam. Go slower, they'd tell her. You're too fast. She got a job working for Bella Abzug, working for a pioneer in the women's liberation movement. Got to meet Gloria Steinem, got to meet Betty Friedan. I wanted to be a women's studies minor in college, my advisor asking me, what are you going to do with that? As I stared blankly back. I found my mother from campus one day. I was reading The Feminine Mystique. I wanted to know if she'd read it too, if it made an impact on her life. She laughed, my mother. No, she said. I was too busy working. They worked as a team, my mother, my father. He'd do the dishes and she'd prepare the food, switching the next day when she'd do the dishes and he'd prepare the food. She had me at 39, my mother, one of the greatest blessings of my life. Never the pressure to marry young or have babies. Work hard and follow your dreams. Don't give up, she always tells me. She's my best friend, my mother. I tell her everything. Like that time I did acid and the neon gremlins tried to eat me, or that time I flew to LA to have sex with an old crush of mine, or the many times I've called her at 3 a.m. crying over my broken heart. She always wanted me to end up with a Puerto Rican man, my mother, disappointed by my constant repetition of dating white men. You'll lose part of your identity, she always tells me. But what if a mother said that about me, I always ask her back. What if she whispered to her son, but she's Puerto Rican? All right, these are really short. One of my good guy friends is obsessed with Blackout poetry, and I've adopted it. So if you don't know what it is, you take a piece of book or magazine or whatever, and you black out everything except what you want, which is very stressful. It very much reveals your subconscious. This one actually is perfectly suited for my brother, which is why I wrote it. His stewardess, a mistress in a daring dress, the escort. She caught your eye, you, the unblushing tiger, freckled and high-priced, who had hunger to hunt, to cheat, to enjoy one type of woman, his mistress, the halfway hooker. He met women in Las Vegas. He met Julie, Corey, Holly, eyes like tiger, special introductions, girls selected, delivered, power, money, VIP in Vegas, the ambassador of client desire.
Yep.
It's okay. They're brief. Okay, these are going to be really short, so this one's just whatever. He cut me a nice slice, cleaned out the innards, their torso open and blue. This one's a true story. She couldn't come. It wasn't your fault, she said. Goodbye. Some of these are from Bukowski, who, if you know me, you know I'm obsessed with. And my friend scolded me for tearing the pages out, and I say that my friend is wrong. This one's called Strokes to Nowhere. Whiskey and I are friends. We can be friends, not that way. This one's called Head Job. She had 2 lovers, sexually and spiritually, her scotch and 1 cigarette. The woman lived in a dream state. All right, I'm going to read 2 short ones. This one's called Swallowing. I have no problem swallowing sometimes, in spite of the taste it often leaves in my mouth. Certainly it's not something my mother would ever advise me to do. But what she doesn't tell you, what your girlfriends don't tell you, is that they've all done it. It's an uncomfortable topic, I realize, to admit to having been on your knees, that tears sometimes run down your face. No one ever told me to suck it up and take a deep gulp, that sometimes the act of not fighting, of not pushing a nonsense of an issue made everything better in the end. No one told me, I just listened to the women. I don't know what came over me. It was so unlike me. To the men, it was crazy. The thing is, crazy can happen to even the sanest girl. It almost feels supernatural when it washes over you. To lose control like that, to project insecurities, to expose your inner deviant, to do things you never thought you would do, things you promised yourself you would never do. And then, as you watch the sticky aftermath of the situation, you light a cigarette and ask yourself where you took the wrong fork in the road. But sometimes, as you rag the mess away, you can see through the crazy, that sometimes emotion needs to be eliminated, that sometimes it's really black and white, that sometimes you need to tell your imagination to take a vacation, that you can't enjoy the sweet without the salt. And that's when you do what none of the other women tell you they do. You choke it down and say, I was wrong. I'm sorry.
Yep.
And this is my last one, and it's really short. It's called Seek and Seizure. Fingers slipped and dipped. Above collarbones, her scent, smeared, smelled, sensed. He pauses above her throat, gnawing at her jawline, teething, his chew toy soaked in spit. And that's all. Thank you.
Yeah.